Hello and welcome to the adventures of Syberiah. We are playing space engineers and this is Agaris, the water planet. Hi guys, welcome back. It is a pleasure to have you guys here. I am losing my mind ever since the last episode. I just been overthinking what to do over there. Let's talk about the last episode a little bit. There was a lot of story background going on. We discovered the lighthouse, we discovered the dock, Jimmy's shack, we found out what happened to Jimmy, and as far as we know, Mickey possibly is still out there somewhere. God knows what happens to him. Anyways, what that does is it gives us an opportunity to get ready to hit the ocean with an actual boat. Yeah. Who would have thought, right? It's a water world save, and we're just now about to build a boat. So, a couple of the things that are very important to me on the build of this boat. So, it needs to obviously be able to produce materials for when we get there. So we need a refinery and assembler on board. That's number one. The vessel needs to be able to accommodate Syberiah in order to live, like a living quarters. We need a living quarters in it. It needs to be self-sufficient as far as power goes. You know, we can't be stopping to recharge and connect to tethers and do all that kind of thing that we were doing before. What we want is a vessel that can actually recharge itself on the go. So my idea for making this happen, according to our materials that we have in hand right now, for example, I cannot build this vessel out of large grid because I would need a gyro for that eventually, and gyros in large grid require, I think it's 50 metal grids, way ahead of what we can do here right now. So this vessel absolutely has to be a small grid, and yet it still has to be able to house a refinery and an assembler. So my idea to build a ship in small grid that is capable of housing a production, meaning the refinery and the assembler, is I am going to build the base of this ship with that production, with the large grid, and then I intend on attaching a advanced rotor part to it, and then from that advanced rotor part attaching a advanced rotor that is small grid and starting the build where the propulsion is going to be at, gyros and everything else. Basically drive from the small grid and produce from the large grid.
Anyways, so here you see me trying to attempt to attach a small advanced rotor to a large advanced rotor part. So I tried it in a few different ways. I did a little tripod, and if you look all the way at the top, there is a piston. I tried shortening the piston to connect the two. Did not work out. Luckily I did have the tripod here, and I was able to attach it, but not till after I placed it at the proper height. I was trying to be a little lazy there and hope that it would just jump up and attach, but it didn't. So here I'm just grinding ahead. I needed to push my tripod here, so I added a couple of blocks here, and I just body pushed it into the rotor. And using my build vision, I just went ahead and I attached the rotor. And I was so happy when the world just completely did not end right here and nothing exploded. So this was super awesome. Anyways, continuing with the process, next is cargo. That's going to be necessary here. So I added 3 large cargo containers, small grid, right to the end of that advanced rotor. So anything I place in here, hopefully all the ores that we collect, our refinery and assembler back there will be able to have access to all of it. So yeah, this is going to be the main setup for the shape of the ship here. So let me just go ahead and weld this stuff up really quickly. You'll see me skipping forward through a lot today. This video recording absolutely took forever. The build was huge, so I did have to keep it reasonable in time management. So might be a little shorter. You see some scenes cut, but you know, I did the whole process of just building this thing. Man, it took forever, but it was an awesome build so far. And here I'm just putting extra braking torque on that rotor, and I'm gonna lock it. I don't want this thing to be bothered. You know, for a build like this, my goal is to leave it untouched as much as possible. So here's the back of the refinery, and I'm adding a connector, and that's gonna be our rear connector to the front of the cargos. I added another medium cargo, and that one's mostly just for spacing to put the survival kit up front. Connector at the bottom here. This connector, I'm just using it to pipe the system that I'm about to build here with the hydrogen tanks. So, which is going to be the flotation for all of this. But first, what I want to do is I want to establish what the flooring on the inside of the ship is going to be. So above these blocks is where we're going to be able to walk. So I'm very excited to get this going. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward it a little bit because placing all these blocks took a very, very long time. So yeah, I started doing the flooring at this point, and the flooring changes throughout the build here. And the reason is it was the spacing for the character, and also I'm leaving enough space for large grid blocks to fit between the bottom floor and the top floor. So I'm trying to focus on all of that while I'm doing all of this, and I ended up just kind of missing the point on the first setup here, and I curved the front of the flooring at the front of the boat. You'll see it here soon. Anyways, ended up having to grind that out and bring it back. But anyways, so here I'm trying to stay as far as I possibly can from that rotor. So I'm trying to avoid clang as much as I can with this build. I know that it's tempting as it is, but here I'm setting up a little bit of a scaffolding where I'm gonna hook up my hydrogen tanks. And the way that I designed this is I figured that I was going with 4 hydrogen tanks in the back. So 2 on each side, just like that. Went back to set up the other side here. Same concept, setting up the little scaffolding and placing the tanks. But I figured that 4 should be enough buoyancy to hold up that refinery assembler setup that I got back here. And then on the front, I plan on setting up another 4. However, I did start off with just 2 here. So that's the front there. Here I am placing the flooring again. Speeding that part up for you guys a little bit. I did place so many blocks, it feels, that, oh man. It was such a fun and intricate build, but at the same time, very time consuming. So, yeah, you can get a good idea here of what I'm talking about, the flooring. Here's the part that I had originally messed up, so I'm going to start fixing it now. But here you go, just setting up a little connecting point so that I can disconnect the area that I had screwed up there. So here we go, grind away we go. Yeah, there's a few moments during this build where I had to just kind of scrap it and start over. I spared you guys from a lot of that, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys what was really happening. And not only that, but I fell off this scaffolding so many times building this thing that I sort of got at least an hour of footage was me climbing back up onto the scaffolding. But yeah, anyway, here you go. You get a good concept of what I was talking about as far as the flooring. You should be able to take a good look here. But yeah, there you have it. So I went ahead and I fixed the front area there as well, in between our tanks that I had for the front. And now you see me setting up the hydrogen generators. So as far as our tanks goes, you know, they're providing us with all of the support that's going to keep us afloat. And the way that we're going to fill them up while we're out on the road is through these hydrogen generators. On the road, the ocean. Anyways, so I placed one on this side, I placed one on that side, and I'm also going to go with 2 more up at the front on these tanks here. So a total of 4 of those. I'm going to have a total of 8 hydrogen tanks. I want 8 hydrogen engines and 8 batteries. So that's going to be the full setup that I have in mind in order for this boat, for this ship, to be self-sufficient, where it can just suck up ice out of the ocean, turn it into hydrogen, to fill up its tanks and also to fuel up the engines. Here's where I decided to place the collector. It's in front of the ship between the 2 hydrogen tanks there. Again, as they're pulling that ice in, you know, the tanks are connected directly to the hydrogen generators, so that facilitates that whole process there. And then I took my time here and I decided to pipe everything from the back to the front of the ship. So I figured at this point that eventually I'm gonna have to connect this build to the main grid of the base, Cyberdyne. So I'm starting to set up all the piping. These tanks, they need to connect to each other so that when we put them to stockpile, they can they can siphon the hydrogen from the base. So there you go. You can see the whole process here. I don't think anything about this build wasn't time consuming. Everything was very, you know, just had to take your time and be patient with it. But again, tons of fun. Here you have it. So welding all of this up is how I figured that we were going to use this thing. So there you have it. Everything is welded up. Now the trick is to connect this to the containers on the inside of the ship, because those are the containers that are going to be connected to that rotor that is going to be connected to eventually a connector that will connect to the base here. Having all these blocks unwelded started getting to me, and I made the decision to install a bunch of welders and weld them all at one time. I don't know if this took longer than me just welding them by hand. I don't know, but it was fun to do. So that's what I'm coming up with here. I set up a bunch of them just on both sides as far as I could reach. And but yeah, you can see even that was time consuming. Maybe that's why it took so long to build this. I did have fun. Anyways, there you go. On the side of the survival kit, placed one more. Yeah. Weld them all up, and this is where it's debatable. Was it worth it or not? I don't know. Look at how much I had to weld here, but the end result came out pretty cool, and that was pretty exciting. So there you have it. Almost done with these. Last one. So now what I want to do is put all of these welders into one group and turn them all on at the same time. So I'm gonna set myself up with a control seat here. I'm gonna pop it right on top of the container. There we have it. Weld this puppy up, jump in it, and yeah, let's group up those welders. Just gonna put them in a group, call them welders. They're gonna be ground off, so it's all gonna get deleted anyway. There you have it. Put it on my hotbar with an on-off option, just right there on number 1. Set up my spectator camera to capture the beautiful footage that is about to happen. And oh yeah. I don't know, maybe it is faster. I don't know, it feels awesome. It was cool to do, so I did it. I ended up using this technique throughout the build, actually. I did the top platform the same way. So here is me connecting to the base now. So I ended up grinding up that conveyor that we had set up there for our connector up underneath our tower. And I just pulled a line that's gonna lead up to the boat here. And there you have it. So grinding off this block, I'm gonna go ahead and set up a connector. Once this is all welded up here, this is how we're going to be siphoning the hydrogen from the base. Go ahead and switch lock that connector, and there you have it. We are connected to the base, and like I was saying earlier, I needed to connect this lower section to the top section there, to one of those cargos. So the quick fix for it, I just ground through the flooring here, just one block, and I placed my conveyors right up at that cargo. I did my best to line it up here, but kind of failed it. Anyways, set everything up here, and then I just went ahead and cut set up a junction box here, conveyor junction, so that I can pull a line onto this cargo. And there you have it. Once this is all welded up, it's how we're able to siphon some hydrogen up into those tanks. Yeah, there you go. Nice and welded. Give me that one. All right. Climb up to the top, and here's when I realized that I placed it wrong after I welded it. But I was one block short trying to aim from that hole that I had created there. So quick fix, pop up another conveyor tube in a conveyor curve, and weld it up, drill it up. Anyways, we're connected to the base now. All of those tanks are connected to our hydrogen tower, and I can siphon. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set all of them up to stockpile and let those tanks fill up. Now, the next step that I need to consider here is setting up my top flooring, the deck flooring. So at this point here, I'm still debating on what kind of a look I want to give this ship. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it's going to be. Like, up to this point, I really had planned for the innards and how it was going to work. I didn't really plan for how it was going to look. So a lot of this is just me fiddling around and greebling a little bit, trying to get measurements and the sizing of everything that I want to do up at the top here. So that's exactly what I'm trying to set up here. So I'm figuring that this is the end of the deck, the back end of the deck. And anyways, yep, did a lot of that during this build. And there you have it. I start setting up this end here, and just go ham, placing block after block after block. Very time consuming process here, but you know, it had to be done, and hopefully it only has to be done once. But yeah, this is where I'm intending to set up my cockpit or the control seat. But there you go, you can see kind of what it looks like there for a little bit. Now we're going over the top of the bed, and I realized that I have one block worth of space and I can still have headroom, and the large grid blocks that I'm planning on putting there can still fit. So I decided to drop it by one block here just to give it a little bit more shaping, and you'll see it later on. It kind of really stands out on the finished product. But there you have it, lots of block placing. until my clicking fingers started hurting. There you have it. Closing it all off, and there we go. So this is what I had ended up with, it's time to put propellers on this. We're gonna need to make this move. So now that we have hydrogen coming in, I want to start getting ready to do some driving tests on this ship and see how it performs out there in the ocean. So right now, I'm not trying to make it pretty. I'm just doing a little bit of a scaffolding that's going to hold the propellers. So the first propeller I put is our braking propeller. As you'll see right here, I'm going to set up our actual forward propulsion. And the way that I chose to do that is by putting them inside each other there. They don't really have a collision, so I decided to take advantage on the aesthetics a little bit by doing it that way, just kind of like I did on the Wilson, to kind of make it look like it's only one propeller, but in reality it's two. So back and forward motion there. And then I went back to the underbelly of the ship. I opened up that conveyor again just to place a junction there. And this time it was to place our sideways propellers. I just needed a point of attachment there. So that's what I did. I ended up playing around with a few different sizes here, and I think I ended up going with the small 5-blade is what I ended up going towards the end. And I did set up 2 more sets. So there's 4 sideways small propellers, and then we have 2 forward that are big and 2 backwards that are big as well. Anyways, at this point I'm trying to start to get a feel for how I'm gonna start setting everything up on the ship as far as living quarters, cockpit, things like that. You know, I'm thinking the main cockpit should be, you know, a seat, and then you have a couple of chairs behind where, you know, you got a couple of buddies, they can sit and enjoy the ride with you. But there you go. So this is what it's looking like so far, and so far it's about, I think I'm about 3.5 hours into this build at this point. So I'm kind of very excited and kind of eager to get this thing on the water and start driving it. So here we go, 5 gyros. I decided to put these gyros directly above where our rotor is set up under there that connects from large grid to small grid, and that's where the center of mass was on this boat, so I went with that. And here are the 8 batteries being installed. I ended up running out of materials, had to go mining for a little bit, but hey, such is life. Gotta get it, gotta do it. But there you have it. I ended up going with 8 batteries, like I said, and that's me falling off the dock again. There you have it. I think at this point I took some time just to kind of look at it and relax a little bit and just start to envision what this would actually look like as a ship. There's me welding up these batteries, almost ready to remove it. Had to go pick up some stone, go pick up more materials and more resources. And that took a little bit of time, but trusty old stone scratcher over here was there to rescue the situation. Very awesome. There we go. Oh yeah, got all these batteries welded up. And at this point, I believe I was starting to consider taking it off of the scaffolding here, and that's exactly what I'm doing. At this point right here, it becomes a ship. It's now disconnected. It's just connected by the connector. And, excuse me. I was just jumping around over here, getting rid of the scaffolding. I thought it was fun. I had a good time doing this as well. It's like, whee! Oh yeah, whee! Look at that dive. Look at that dive. I got like 4 blocks on that one. Ooh. That one wasn't as good. Come on. Whee! There we go. Very awesome. So yeah, cleaned everything up underneath the ship. I didn't want to release it from the connector and then have it collide with any of that. Make sure everything was clear underneath. And here I am staring at it and just double checking everything, making sure that I'm finally ready to actually release this. But then I decided to weld it first, so enjoy the show. Oh yeah, we're looking good. This thing is starting to take shape, and here we go. It's time to disconnect it. I want to set it up to my spectator cam, and oh yeah, oh yeah. I am so glad this thing did not blow up. I am so glad I did not just clip the edge of that wind tower there and then end up ruining everything. But here we go. Everything is working. It is floating. I am very excited, and I am ready to take it for the first test. So let's see how this puppy does. Ooh, here we go. It's getting heavy as I'm putting more blocks onto this thing, and I have a feeling it's going to get a lot heavier. But look at this. It's picking up speed. It's getting fast. What? We are in the 90s. That is awesome for a ship like this. That is really good. So far I only have 2 hydrogen tanks up at the front. I think I'm going to add more because I know I'm going to add a lot of weight to this. So let's see how that works. Let's run back to the base and you know, get ready to do some more work on this puppy. Look at this thing. It's riding awesome. I'm so excited with this thing. Very excited. It just came out so cool. At this point, I was really, really enjoying just the way it felt, the way it rode. It just, yeah. Setting up some mag pads here just so I can attach it to our lovely floating dock. That way I can work from it, on it from there. At this point, I was starting to get excited to work on the large grid blocks that are going to go on the inside. I did want to recharge it, so I'm setting up a charging station right here, right next to Wilson's. Look at Wilson back there being a good boy. Oh yeah. So here we go, just setting that up right on the battery. Very awesome. And so here it is. So to connect with the bed, there's an attachment point that fits large grid blocks, and that's what I wanted to do my interior with, so that I can have large grid blocks like desks, bars, things like that. So I brainstormed a lot to figure out which blocks I wanted to put here. I was playing with some passageways at this point. As you can see back here attached to the assembler, the kitchen's there, but it's not, I couldn't leave it there because then I wouldn't be able to attach it to anything else. So there was a lot of that, just kind of playing around and trying to figure out what should go where. And I think this is the point where I finally kind of figured it all out. Yeah, it's nighttime. Anyways, I ended up going with the kitchen on the right side. There's a bar, there is a passageway, and there's also a shelf back there. On the front we have the couch. This side we have a planter, some passageways. And I did go ahead and set up a desk right in front of the rotor, as a matter of fact. The reason why I wanted to do that is I like to keep an eye out on that rotor in case collisions are happening or things like that. I just want to be able to, you know, actually see it with my own eyes. So I put the desk there as an excuse for decoration. Here I'm doing a staircase for the inside of the ship. I absolutely love this design. Again, I played around with a few different stair designs. I found out if you do them like this, your character can actually walk up them very smoothly without getting stuck, which means you don't have to jump when you're going upstairs when they're in small grid like this. I know they have mods for stuff like this, but I don't know. I didn't want to go with any mods on that. But yeah, the stairs came out pretty awesome. And here you can see the large grid blocks within the inside of the small grid blocks. And things are really starting to take shape and really starting to look like a ship. And here you go. The assembler side, kitchen, bar, all of that good stuff. It's really starting to look like a ship. So at this point I started considering shaping the armor blocks on the sides and trying to figure out how these sides would actually look like on this ship. Here are the two other hydrogen tanks. Like I said, as I started adding blocks, this thing got heavier, so I wanted to make sure. Here's another point where I started greebling the front there to make it look like a ship. And at this point I have the 4 hydrogen tanks at the front, 4 in the back. One more time, crazy welding, did a lot of that. I don't know why. It feels like it's faster to me. It might not be, I don't know. Anyways, so this is the platform. Here's the top section. I left the openings there for the staircases so that you can actually walk. Hello. And at this point I believe I'm considering closing up the sides there, and that's exactly what I'm starting to do here. So here's the front. I ended up doing this front of the boat there like 3-4 times. I went with a bunch of different designs, and then for the large grid section I decided to go with these windows here. I just thought they looked cool on the boat. I just thought they looked really awesome with the way the boat's set up. And the other reason why I set them up like that is because of this door that I'm about to place here. So you can see it just fits there perfectly. So I enjoyed it. It leaves plenty of room for me to walk up and down the hallway here. And you'll see it from the outside here once I polish it up a little bit, weld all these things up. I just feel like it definitely gives a good accent to the boat. And there you have it. So this is as far as I got with this ship. And what I want to do next is just take my time and decorate it. I'm going to make this pretty. I'm going to make a cockpit up at the top. I'm going to do a bunch of different things. I just want to take my time. So that's what I'm going to do. It's time for greebling. I'll be right back with a finished product. All right, baby. Now we're really riding in style. I am just so excited with the way this boat came out. Just look at it. It's just such a cool vehicle to drive. It rides really awesome. I like everything about it. Let me give you a little bit of a tour on the inside so you can see. I know the video didn't quite depict everything, but you got the gist of it. So yeah, on this side, we have our refinery. I put a shelf here in the kitchen with a little, little kitchen desk kind of thing. Some planners. You gotta have the couch because you gotta have the ultimate chill spot with the TV. But I did one better than that. So here's the bed. We have a little bit of a just the passageways I went with here. I figured if I need something different, these are 3 blocks that I have room for, that I can change things around. Got the bed here. Here is the desk. You can see the rotor. You're gonna get those little wobbles that happen with clang and things like that. But overall, knock on wood, this ship is just riding really, really well. My staircases, they work for the most part whenever they want to. I haven't really had too many problems with them going up and down. But as you can see here I'm just trying. It's just the last one, just because of that little lip there. That's all it is. Whatever. Anyways, I put a solar panel here just for looks, really. This thing's got plenty of power on its own. But you can see the cockpit area here. This is my favorite spot, really. One of my favorite spots. Just, I don't know. I'm just so stoked. I just love the entire thing. I went ahead and I set up a nice cockpit view here with all of my LCDs. We got weather, depth, speed, and of course your fuel efficiency and all of that. But of course, you gotta have the bar, and you gotta have a couch near the bar. So this is kind of my little chill area here now for when we're on the road. So, I can sit here and I can, think about things, and I can look at the stars, and it's gonna be super awesome. Very excited. I didn't set up anything fancy on these buttons. One is the engines and one is just this cabin lights here. I kind of like the ambient lights that I went with here. These purplish bluish, the blue ones actually. They're more blue. Absolutely love the way these colors came out on here. Works really well. And there you have it. On the inside, there is a section that I did realize after the edit that I didn't really show you guys, is the hydrogen engines and where they ended up going. But if you remember this piping that I had set up directly underneath it, I went ahead and I closed off this area here. But there they are, 8 hydrogen engines. I ended up adding another medium cargo here, and solely for the purpose of connecting it to the upstairs. So we got a little bit extra storage there. And I doubled up on our propellers for the sideways views here as well. So there you have it. This thing is an absolute beast. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, guys, I wanted to go ahead and just thank every single one of you guys that have been watching and following along with my videos. I just hit 200 subscribers this week, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but to me that is a lot. I never really intended to have such a big audience. I'm very excited. I love chatting with you guys. Please leave comments if you have any questions about this build or anything that you would like to do here. Anyways, if you're visiting us for the first time, I hope that I have given you enough information here that will help you consider subscribing. And if you are an old friend that's visiting and watching yet another video, don't forget to hit that like button. Guys, thank you so much for all the love, all the support. You guys stay blessed, and I'll see you on the next one.